How's it going, everyone? Welcome into the live stream. My name is Ben Gotfredson. I head up startup programs for Snowflake, and I'm thrilled to be joined with a friend of mine and someone I've worked with for a number of years now. His name is Divyansh. He's not only a data superhero here at Snowflake, but he's the co-founder and CEO of Houseware. Houseware not only is a great startup, it also is the winner of last year's 2022 Startup Challenge. So Divyansh, welcome to the live stream. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Ben. It's a pleasure.
Have you had a fun week?
Yeah, it's been a fun and exhausting week and never a bad time in Vegas.
Yeah. All right. So let's kick it off by walking through what Houseware does, and then I want to get into the founding story a little bit too.
Absolutely. So Houseware is a product analytics solution built natively on top of Snowflake. What that means is that we help our customers identify who their best users are, why they're coming into their product, how are you acquiring them, and how are you retaining them. This is typically a very hard challenge because this is all coming from events and clickstream data from end users like us, which is captured on mobile applications and web apps. For data teams to be able to make sense of this, it's not an easy thing. So this is something that we help simplify.
And when was Houseware founded?
Houseware was founded towards the end of 2021, so it's been 18 months since our founding journey. Very quickly, once we started Houseware, we came across the Startup Challenge. This was 3 months into it, and we applied for it.
And tell us about the product evolution in that window. I mean, you guys have done quite the sprint in that short amount of time.
Yeah, so when we started Houseware, we started with a very simple question. What does it really take to flip the value of the warehouse from data and engineering teams to teams on the revenue side of the house, right? So these are product teams, sales, marketing, finance. And the key challenge that we identified is that the data world for the past many years has been talking about tables, rows, columns, schemas, which not really talking about users and what they're doing on your product, right? So that's something that we wanted to change. So we started with the idea of cross-functional apps built natively on top of Snowflake, and very quickly started to realize that, hey, we had to focus our attention towards one specific use case, which happened to be product analytics for us. So when we won the Startup Challenge last year, our idea for democratizing access to data got us through as the winners of Snowflake Startup Challenge. But after that, we moved from SaaS as the industry to now going after retail, financial services, as well as media and entertainment. So that's been quite a ride in the last 1 year since we were here last time.
So I know we grabbed coffee in New York. I think it was in October. Went on a walk through the park, and we were talking about your feedback that you were collecting from customers and how it was helping to pivot your product. Can you tell us, like, what have you learned from your early customers and what successes are they seeing?
That's a good one. And we try to be as data-driven as possible as an early-stage startup ourselves. So what we do is we do a lot of customer discovery conversations, which is a lot more qualitative interviews with our end users as well as with our buyers. And one of the things which is clear in the last 18 months of starting Houseware is that all of the data now coming to one place in the data warehouse and data cloud has started to make people think that what kind of applications can they run on top of it, right? So, and clickstream data, user events data is like one of the ones which is untapped to its potential right now, because in the earlier days, you had to send this to a third-party tool and then figure out like how the analysis has to be done. So pretty much taking the data to the workload, but now you have the workload really coming to the data. So we are starting to think, what does product analytics as a workload on top of Snowflake look like? And our customers are starting to talk about it. So that's a really refreshing take that we are hearing from them right now.
So you mentioned bringing the workload to the data. A lot of the announcements this week are highly relevant for Houseware. Can you talk about the ones that have been on your radar, like native apps, and how they're impacting the product roadmap really for Houseware?
Yeah, we've been excited about the roadmap that Snowflake has been taking for the last couple of years, for sure. And it is, as you mentioned, is very directly relevant to Houseware. A couple of things which come to the top of my mind right now are the native apps public preview, that's the one. And second is the outstanding release that the team made on the container services, right? Your apps can now directly run inside of Snowflake. And our friends at Hex did a wonderful demo around that as well. What it holds for Houseware is that our customers, given that they're already looking for applications on Snowflake, this essentially helps them to, just with a single click, not even like sign up for Houseware, but from inside Snowflake, they can now access Houseware, figure out like who are the best users, how should they retain them, and things like those. And essentially not just bring data and engineering teams into Snowflake's ecosystem, but also end users who are product managers, UX researchers, designers also starting to access the product, right, through these native applications. So you'll see a lot more coming from us in this domain for sure. And the one other one, apart from these two that I'd like to mention, is the whole partnership with NVIDIA and the LLM ecosystem that is going to flourish over the next few months and years to come, right? Like it's a shift in the industry and the transition that we are going through. We are starting to think, and our customers are starting to ask us, hey, what does it hold for product analytics as a workload on top of Snowflake that we can now access with these large language models being accessible on Snowflake?
So that's a question I'd love to get your take on. So the LM development that we've seen bake out through 2023, as a founder of an early stage startup, how are you thinking about its relationship to your product, and are there any initiatives that you're working on that are relevant to it?
Yeah, that's something that we've been thinking about a lot, and there's definitely a lot of noise out there in the ecosystem around AI in the last 6 months. I mean, last time when we were up on the stage for the Startup Challenge, we were talking about, hey, democratizing access to the next billion users, and Ben Gotfredson in his keynote mentioned this time that now LLMs and AI is the universal modeling language for data. Now, that's something that we started to think about, right? Like now, no longer the interface is going to be SQL, it is going to be how users really directly talk to the data. So there are two things that we are starting to think about there. One, how can we really ease the access for end users so that they don't have to draw a chart. They can just ask the question around how many users came onto my product last week, how many of them are from, let's say, Minnesota, and like how do we figure out how to get more of these users, right? So how can we enable that workflow going for them? That's the first thing. Second thing, how can we figure out like causation and correlation between these actions and events that users are doing? This is unstructured data at its best that is dumped onto data warehouse in a data cloud. How can Houseware come and help in figuring out, okay, these kind of actions that users are taking from Minnesota lead us to driving some sort of value for our end user. So very excited for the future and very excited for the releases that are going to be coming this summit, next summit, and the summit after that.
Yeah, I've been walking around this week and I've been seeing booths and presentations, and I'm realizing, as somebody that's written maybe 3 lines of SQL in my life, I can use half these tools, and it'll probably be all these tools by next year's summit. It's pretty cool. Tell us about the Houseware team, the size, the split, between engineering, marketing, sales.
Sure. So the Houseware team is 15 people big right now. We pretty much have an equal split on go-to-market and engineering. And our team is quite fluid in the sense that the engineers do talk to customers, and the go-to-market folks also are the ones who are able to, as you said, now build applications on our Snowflake for customers as POCs, right? So that's something that native applications and Streamlit has made possible for us. Where we have come from 18 months ago, it was just me and my co-founder Shubhankar who started Houseware. So we are pretty much like growing at a very rapid pace. Our focus from SaaS as an industry has now moved on to media and entertainment as well as retail, which is something that we sort of preempted last year when we were going up on the stage at Summit that, hey, this is probably going to happen, but it happened too soon. And that's a good thing always.
Yeah. So with the minute and a half we have left, can you give the elevator pitch to people tuning in? Like, why should they check out Houseware? Why should they open up their Snowflake account and download Houseware as a native app?
For sure. And so Houseware is a product analytics solution which is natively built on top of Snowflake. So if you're a consumer application like Strava, OpenDoor, DoorDash, any of these that you and I use on a daily basis, these end users are essentially creating a lot of unstructured data in forms of clicks and events that you're typically dumping onto a data lake or a data warehouse solution. For making sense of this data for product managers and UX researchers, it's a fairly hard challenge because they are not the ones who are essentially able to stitch around funnels, user sessions, and what a user really means, right? So Houseware is an automatic way for you to take this data and then plug it into the solution, find out the best insights out of that so that you know who are the best users, why they're coming into the platform, and who you should reach out to next. So that's what we do. And hopefully that was helpful.
I'm sold. All right, Divyansh, thanks a ton for joining. Hope you enjoyed the week, and congrats on the success. Everybody, thanks for tuning in, and have a great rest of your day and great summit.